So plastic's a term which is quite difficult to define initially because plastic can have a couple of different meanings depending on how we're looking at it. In terms of how we look at plastics in chemistry and what Blue Planet has got us worrying about really, it's really referring to a polymeric material. Polymeric meaning a very large material which is often derived from synthetic materials, often petrochemicals. So with petrochemicals we're talking really about crude oil. So we use crude oil as a resource, which is then where we separate it basically by heating it up. And when we separate it, we get the bits we want, and we make these things that we know as plastics. So in terms of why it's so good, it's about meeting the need of a substance. You only ever really use a material when you're trying to meet the need. So what we use plastics for, we could use other materials for. So for example, I'm only 31, but I've been looking at a hip replacement recently, and actually in the past you'd use big chunky metallic substances. Well, now we can look at different medical implants that are made from polymer materials themselves or other medical instruments. There are other advantages that you could look at as well. So if you're going to build a big bulky material out of metal or wood, they're extremely heavy. If you're transporting those from one area of a country to another end or to another country, you start to look at fuel costs. So it's actually a lot cheaper to transport polymeric materials as well because they're made out of light atoms, a lot lighter, less fuel. So there are a lot of positives associated with them, but it's about using a material to meet a need.